Welcome back to The Explainer. If you've ever walked through a grand museum and just wondered about the bloody history hiding behind all those beautiful things locked in glass cases, well, this is the ultimate story. Today, we're looking at a tale that honestly feels like it was pulled straight out of a high fantasy novel, but every single detail is grounded in our very real, very turbulent human history. We aren't just talking about a pretty piece of jewelry here. We're looking at a cursed spoil of war. A stone pulled from the dark, damp earth of the ancient color mines of Golconda in India. A stone that, long before the world even knew its name, was practically destined to change the fate of kings and empires. Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to trace the unbelievable journey of this artifact across 5 acts. 1. Birth of the light. 2. Empires, blood, and curses. 3. Exile and the lion. 4. The final conquest. And 5. Who owns it today? Let's get right to it. Section 1. Birth of the light, from earth to sacred eye. To really understand the weight of this diamond, you've got to understand its mystical roots. It is absolutely breathtaking to consider that some ancient Sanskrit scrolls point to it being the legendary Symantika Mani. We're talking about a glowing sun gem from the epic Mahabharata, said to have been gifted to Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago. But history officially catches up with the myth in the 13th century. Its first confirmed historical sighting places it in the Kakatiya dynasty, where it actually wasn't a piece of jewelry for a monarch at all. It was a sacred object. It was set as the glimmering eye of the goddess Bhadrakali in a peaceful temple. But as you'll see, peace is the one thing this diamond could never keep. Which brings us to Section 2, Empires, Blood, and Curses, the Trail of Conquest. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what happened when the peaceful days of the Kakatiya temple ended. The moment Persian-style banners appeared on the horizon, it kicked off a violent relay race across centuries. From the Kakatiya dynasty, it was pried from the temple amid clashing steel and handed down through the Delhi Sultanate. From the Khiljis to the Tughlaqs to the Tomars of Gwalior, it became the ultimate prize. But the crucial point here is a chilling motif that follows the stone everywhere it goes. It was never bought, it was never sold, it was literally only ever taken. By 1526, as cannons roared across the plains of Panipat, the mighty Mughal Empire claimed the prize. And to give you a sense of the sheer awe this stone inspired, the founder of the Mughal Empire, Babur, famously wrote that its value could literally feed the entire world for a day. I mean, just think about your weekly grocery bill, and then multiply that by, well, the entire planet. Imagine the financial and psychological weight of an object like that. Eventually, it was set at the very top of the magnificent gold-encrusted peacock throne. But, sitting at the top of the world comes with a heavy price. The diamond carried a whisper of doom. It watched quietly from the peacock throne as the magnificent Emperor Shah Jahan was overthrown and locked away by his own son, Aurangzeb. Many historians and storytellers point to this exact era as the moment the legendary curse of the stone truly awakened. But the curse wasn't just metaphysical, right? It was highly physical too. Consider the number 793. That is the massive, original carat weight of the stone when the Mughals held it. It was an absolute giant of a gem. But then, disaster struck. Under the Mughals, a jeweler's tools slipped during a remarkably clumsy polishing attempt. The diamond cracked, and that magnificent 793-carat giant was slashed down to a mere 186 carats. It's almost painful to think about, yet completely poetic, because this brutal physical mutilation of the artifact perfectly mirrored the slow, tragic crumbling of the once invincible Mughal Empire. By 1739, the Mughals were broken, and a burning Delhi was invaded by the Persian conqueror Nadir Shah. The story goes that the defeated Mughal emperor had hidden the diamond inside his turban. Nadir Shah, who was cunningly aware of this, proposed a traditional turban exchange as a sign of their new, quote-unquote, friendship. The Mughal emperor had absolutely no choice. As the turban fell and the stone hit the floor, radiating light, Nadir Shah looked at it and whispered its now immortal name, Koh-i-Noor, the Mountain of Light. Moving on to Section 3, Exile and the Lion, Afghanistan to Punjab. Because, of course, Nadir Shah didn't get a happily ever after either. He was assassinated by his own guards, sending the diamond into a dark, rugged exile. The contrast in this next period is just fascinating. For years, the diamond was hidden away in the harsh, shifting terrain of Afghanistan, kept by Ahmad Shah Durrani and his successors.
It was a volatile, shadowed existence. But then, an exiled Afghan queen presented it to Maharaja Ranjit Singh at a grand court in Lahore. The diamond had returned to India, and Ranjit Singh, the legendary Lion of Punjab, he didn't lock it away in the dark. No, he celebrated it. He proudly strapped it to his arm during massive festivals and practically glowed as he rode with it into battle.
But this triumphant golden era, it met a really tragic end. As Ranjit Singh lay on his deathbed, his voice failing him, he gestured weakly toward the diamond. His final dying wish was to break the endless cycle of blood and conquest by donating the stone back to a temple. But his ministers refused, and that single fateful refusal left the cursed stone right where it was, highly vulnerable to the encroaching shadows of the West.
And those shadows arrived quickly. Section 4, the final conquest, the British crown.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because it's 1849, and the Sikh Empire is about to face its somber, tragic fall. This sequence of events is deeply heartbreaking. A child king, the 10-year-old Maharaja Duleep Singh, sits across from British officers and is literally forced to sign the Treaty of Lahore. As part of that treaty, this magnificent stone is officially gifted to Queen Victoria. And as if the universe itself was protesting, the ship transporting it to England in 1850 is tossed in a violent ocean storm. It's almost as if the sea was trying to furiously reclaim the stone before it could ever reach London. But it did reach London, and once there, the diamond faced its final indignity. To conform to Western tastes and artificially enhance its brilliance under modern lighting, European jewelers cut the legendary stone down yet again. The sprawling artifact of ancient Eastern empires shrank from 186 carats down to just 105 carats. Now, here is where the story takes a deeply ironic turn. The British Empire was at the absolute height of its global might, conquering entire continents. Yet, they were utterly terrified of the diamond's curse. Think about it. The most powerful empire on the planet, totally spooked by a shiny rock. Recognizing that the stone had brought doom and destruction to every single male ruler who had ever claimed it, they issued a strict royal decree. Only a woman, a queen, could ever wear the Kohinoor. And so, it was locked securely into the crown of the Queen Mother. Which brings us to our final section, who owns it today? The unending claim. The diamond now sits in the modern era, resting quietly behind thick, reinforced glass and the Tower of London. But its history is far from settled. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it sparks a massive geopolitical debate today with 4 distinct competing historical claims. India claims it based on its ancient birthplace and origins in the Kakatiya dynasty. Pakistan points out that Lahore was the last seat of the Sikh Empire, holding the stone right before the British annexation. Afghanistan lays claim to the heritage of the Durrani Empire's possession during the diamond's long exile, and Iran claims it as the conquest spoils of Nadir Shah back in 1739. Each nation looks at this stone and sees a vital piece of their own stolen history. So we end with this. It remains, as the historical records often call it, a so-called gift of the colonial era. A mountain of light that simply refuses to let the world forget its bloody, turbulent history. When you look back at the empires that rose and fell, the blood spilled, and the curses whispered in the dark over the single piece of ancient earth, who does the mountain of light truly belong to? It's a heavy question to ponder. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next one.